Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Daniel Federico Show. And joining us once again is my man Nick Tazio, the obsessed U Sports writer. Nick, how you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you doing, Daniel?
Man, tired. Got the spro, a little bit but tired today. The puck drop just dropped in the Leafs game. Football's
Yeah.
going on right now. Watched a little bit of it. But I want to talk ball. So here we
Yeah.
are. And then just for people to know, in this episode, we're giving out U Sports report cards this year. All 11 OUA teams and the two finalists in Quebec, in Montreal and Saskatchewan, sorry. So yeah, we're gonna give those up. But first, we're gonna talk about the Vanier Cup. Vanier Cup just happened last week. Nick, talk about that game a little bit.
Um, the game in and of itself. So first of all, excuse me, for folks that may not have watched it, the University of Montreal are Vanier Cup champions.
Woohoo!
They won their second Vanier Cup in the last 3 seasons, which is pretty impressive. And they did it this year by defeating the University of Saskatchewan 30-16 at Mosaic Stadium in Regina. So going into the game, it was kind of billed as, this high-flying, dynamic Montreal offense against this stonewalling, gritty Saskatchewan defense, which was led by the current President's Trophy winner for the best defensive player of the country, linebacker Seth Hundeby. And I know you're a CFL guy, Daniel. You saw that Hundeby got signed
Yeah.
to the Rough Riders.
Mhm.
Him and of course Ethan Jordan, the Heck Crichton winner. But
And Webb just got signed too, right?
did we get signed? I might have missed that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I just saw something on Instagram. Literally, actually, like I was half asleep, literally before I was literally half asleep coming back from work. I'm pretty sure I actually just saw Weeb just get signed by Saskatchewan. What's this? I'm gonna Google it quick. I'm gonna rip a Google here. I'm gonna rip a nice Google here. Yeah. No, maybe I'm wrong. No, I'm not wrong. Am I wrong?
He was drafted by them last year. He's a draft pick. I just don't know
Yeah,
if
yeah, I'm pretty sure they just signed him.
okay.
Uh, yeah, they just signed him. They
Okay.
signed him actually 2 days ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, with this game, it was billed as this offensive versus defense matchup, and then like you watched it as well. It kind of devolved from that. The
You know,
first,
yeah,
sorry,
before you go on, no, you're good. I just want to say I had one complaint about this Vanier Cup,
yeah,
and it was the officiating. I'm gonna be legit. That officiating was inconsistent. It was terrible at the time. And you know what also shocked me? That it wasn't packed.
no, it wasn't. Like they showed like those the sky shots like they would in an NFL game from the blimp, and it was just they're packing the middle of the lower bowl, but there wasn't any. I'm sure there was a lot of people there, but
Yeah,
I think it
but
was just because they had it in such a big stadium.
yeah, but after I watched that. I truthfully believe that they have to bring it back to share the same weekend of the Grey Cup because, man, I was watching that 2011 McMaster Marauders game against Laval when McMaster won in overtime. I was rewatching it. That's probably one of the best Vanier Cups in history. It was packed. It was electric in there of families and friends and, literally Canadian football fans because it's on the same weekend
Yeah.
of the Grey Cup. I think they got to bring that back because that game had all the storylines in the world, had everything going for them in the world to have this be a packed stadium. But because the marketing also sucks in youth sports, a lot of the marketing is terrible. So people probably didn't even know the Van A Cup was happening. But those Saskatchewan people did show up. I just wish there was a little bit more. But yeah, continue.
Yeah, it was, to be honest, no, you're right. You hit it right on the head. U Sports is horrible at marketing, and they should market. It's the freaking Vanier Cup. Like it's
Yeah,
not like it's the Vanier Cup. It's one of the oldest football games, championship football games in North America, and it deserves better marketing than it already has. And I think
yeah,
that's why there weren't that many people there. But yeah, like they got to bring that weekend back because once it's in the same weekend as the Grey Cup, it makes Canadian football, the whole landscape better. Like it does.
100%. Yeah.
You're able to watch the national championship essentially, and then who some of those players are going to be playing on CFL teams in the next year or so, and then you watch the Grey Cup. It's perfect.
Yeah.
This game was, am I right to say it was boring?
No, you're totally fine to say because I thought it was boring also. And
Okay.
I love football.
I love football too. I can watch boring games.
Hmm.
Like, I really can. I can watch horrible Thursday night football games, but this was a boring game. And it was just
100%.
it was boring, but it also kind of says something about Montreal because they quietly just suffocated Saskatchewan. Like,
Yes, they actually did.
yeah.
100%. I think that's the perfect way to use it. They did suffocate them very slowly, just like a snake
Totally.
would do.
Yeah, it was like I got the box score right here. The most points scored in a quarter was in the second quarter. Montreal scores 11, Saskatchewan scores 8. Saskatchewan didn't score more points in a quarter than they did in that second. So in the first, third, and fourth, Saskatchewan put up a grand total of 8 points in 3 quarters. And a lot of it was due to the fact that obviously the starter, Anton Amandrid, who's
Yeah,
undergoing treatment for lymphoma, he wasn't there, which is, you know, I hope he's doing well. We hope he's gonna recover and he's gonna go on to live the life he wants. But
yeah.
the backup was in Jake Farrell, and I don't know, he looked a little like the stage was a bit big for him.
Yeah, it literally at times it looked like the lights were too big for him.
Yeah.
It looked like he was nervous out there, but like if he just went out and played how he was playing all 5 games that he played before, I'm pretty sure he played 5 to 6 games or something like that, leading into
Yeah.
the Vanier Cup plus playoffs. If he just played his game like he played then, and it doesn't even matter what stage you play on, you're gonna be successful. But it seemed like his whole everything just switched. Like I don't know what it was, but it
I
seemed
don't
like
know.
that whole Saskatchewan locker room saw the Vanier Cup. It was that mosaic. They thought they were just going to win it no matter what because it was in Saskatchewan.
Mhm.
I don't know what. Actually, I don't even know what the thought process was. But me as a fan, that's probably what my thought process was. But they crumbled, man. I truthfully think they crumbled.
I think they did too. They didn't do anything like offensively whatsoever. The defense played well. Hundeby had a couple of nice plays, but just in total, I also think this was just, Montreal's had a lot of big game experience
Yeah.
in the last few years, and them especially winning the Vanier Cup back in 2023, it would be now.
Mm.
A lot of those players were on this team this year. So for a number of them, this is their second national championship. That's a big deal. And it also counts a lot going into that kind of game, having played that game beforehand and winning it. They know what it's like to win it. So they know the formula, how to win a big Vanier Cup game where, they can grind out an ugly, disgusting defensive game or they can throw bombs. And they kind of just prove to you that here's the one thing I will say about the game, because like the game was boring. Like it was boring. Like for the fans out there, it was really boring.
Yeah.
Montreal quarterback, Pepe Gonzalez,
Yeah.
he's only gonna get better from here. And this is only his
100%. And
first
but
year.
he's like 22 years old. Like
Yeah,
he's been here. Like he's a grown up man.
he is. And
Yeah.
he had arguably like the greatest season in, quarterback season in U Sports history. He
Yeah.
broke Jonathan Senecal's passing touchdown record in
Yeah.
his first year there. So
Yeah.
to think that he's got 4 more years left if he really wants to take all four, like that's scary for.
And if he just keeps on improving rapidly, like exactly like how he was, you can see him in the CFL. Because I know a lot of CFL teams don't draft, U Sports quarterbacks. I don't know what the
Yeah.
reason for the behind that is. Um, but if he shows signs and he can go play in the Canadian Football League, he just gotta. I think he has to put 3 more years together, and he's fine, maybe two.
Yeah, if he continues what he did this year, he will have a lot of pro prospects waiting for him. But just in general, I think the big story from this game was like Montreal is the team to look at going
Yeah,
next year into the Vanier Cup again because of their youth and that coach. We're going to get into it with the report cards later. Coach DeLuca, he's fantastic and he's been with them for over a decade now as a coordinator and as the head coach. So the sky is the limit for the Carabin right now. But for Saskatchewan, it's a heartbreaking loss. Um, I don't know enough about their entire roster to know how they will look next year, but I believe that they are losing the majority of the big three on offense, Amandrid, Weeb, and then Riker Frank at running back.
yeah,
So I don't know their prospects going forward next year. They might be a little bit more murky, but Montreal proved to you in this game that they were the rightful Vanier Cup champs.
100%. Like, once that football kicked off on Saturday afternoon, it looked like it was, all Montreal.
Yeah, and
From the jump. But and you know what also what I was thinking too? Why is this game in the afternoon? Why is this national championship not at night?
I don't know. Why is it 2 o'clock? Like,
Yeah. You know, but I love Canadian football.
mhm.
I love university football. But there's just some things where it's just so easy to market better if you just put it at night sometimes. Like CBC would have done, like CBC, I think they still did a tremendous job.
Yeah.
But imagine that game at night in Mosaic with the lights, two top dog team programs going at it too for the
It, it,
Vanier.
it would
Unreal.
it would be
Maybe more
unreal.
people would have come. Maybe more people would have came.
Yeah, and that's what they need going forward because if more people come, more eyes get on the game, and all of a sudden, like who knows, some of these players might get more pro opportunities than they have in years past if we just get more eyeballs on the thing because it's a good product. Like
Yeah,
these rivalries have been like, you know it. Your brother's a Queens alum. You got the Gales hat on right now. Like Queens has been they've been playing football for over 100 years in
yeah,
Canada.
yeah. Dude,
Like,
football has one of the best rivalries, one of the best traditions in football.
yeah,
It's just that it's a shame that, it's just not marketed better. And, I do shows like this to try to market it. I'm just a small guy. I'm not big in the sports world yet.
yet.
But Persevere's doing a great job too, trying to market the league. At some point where you just need the CFL, the Canadian Football League, the pros for Canada, to help market it. And that's what I think. Because U Sports is clearly not doing it. And if you want the game to grow, like how every commissioner says in every single sport, but the CFL commissioner, I like him. I like him so far. He's been in charge for a season now. And I
Mhm.
really like what he's doing. But if he really wants his game to grow, it starts with you got to put the product out there, and that starts with that starts with university sports, CJFL sports, and I think there's some good high school rivalries in all of Canada that can get marketed.
Yeah, and like it's like why shouldn't we have them? Why shouldn't we have the image that football has in the States? Obviously, that's going to take just a colossal amount of time, but still, like TSN, what about getting like they have a podcast for, and this is not me dissing soccer because I'm actually a huge soccer fan, but like they have that Park the Buzz podcast
Yeah.
where it's essentially, Canadian Premier League centric. In other words, it's a league that not a lot of people pay attention to, including myself as a big soccer fan. Why do we have a podcast like that, but we can't get a podcast going on TSN or one of these other big time Canadian networks about U Sports football, about CJFL football? Don't make it an hour and a half. You don't got to do what Pardon My Take and Barstool does. Do half hour. Do a half
Yeah,
hour.
literally do a half hour. Do like
Just get eyeballs on the guys.
like there's a great show, Crown Gridiron Nation.
Yeah.
It's a youth sports, and they do talk about the Canadian Junior Football League on there. Tremendous show. But you know when it airs on TSN, on TSN2, 12 o'clock on a Wednesday
In the afternoon.
in the afternoon. Who is at home at 12 o'clock
Yeah.
on a Wednesday?
It's impossible to get people to watch it.
Yeah. But, you know, if there's people in the world that are in media or even just in the CFL media landscape, market you sports. But you know what it is? The truth, it's a business though. Like sports is a business.
Yeah, it
They
is.
don't see a profit from it just because
It's
it's not the NCAA.
no,
They
it's all about
it's all
everything's
about
all
money.
about money these days.
But also, like, what would be a good thing too? You get local channels. Cable 14, what they do
Mhm.
in Hamilton is 10 out of 10 for
Yeah,
high
they got
school football. Yeah,
yeah.
10 out of 10. And I think they used to do McMaster games before OUA TV took it over and all the schools took it over. They have done a tremendous job. They're continuing to do a tremendous job. Why doesn't everybody just do that? Every city in Canada has their own local channels.
Yeah, it's there's not enough eyeballs because I don't understand it. I
You
don't
also have to
understand.
pay for streams now. Like, come on.
Like what about like a province like Saskatchewan, man? Like besides the Rough Riders, what else do they got? They got the Huskies, and well, that's it. I'm probably forgetting
They
about
have
their
the WHL team over there.
yeah, they got the CEBL. They got probably got a CBL
Yeah,
team back.
they got a CBL team. Like they have sports and they're all big fan bases of their sports because man, they don't have much to do over there. It's not like they have the greatest bars in the world in Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
It's not like, they have they have a casino or so. I don't even think they have a casino. They might. I don't
Go over
know.
there.
I would actually love to visit Saskatchewan because I think they have the best fans of any sport in Canada.
Mhm.
And if an NHL team ever came there, I think they would sell out every single game.
I think so too, because a lot of those people, they're hardworking people and they love their sports. Like you see the Rough Riders, they got a huge
Yeah.
fan base.
And yeah, like the watermelon guys.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Yeah. It's
And they do support their university sports and they do support their CJFL team. They support all their youth teams too. And I bet high school football out there is good too. Like we're Ontario guys. So if people try to take this like we're trying to bash them, like we don't know, we truthfully don't know what their high school product is like, but it has to be good because it has to be at least good or decent because man, like what I've heard is Saskatchewan produces some big dogs, man.
yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean, a lot of those guys that we saw in the Vanier on the Huskies, like they're homegrown guys. So
yeah.
it's it's just a shame that more eyeballs are not watching this product.
Yeah, it's a damn shame, and like my dream for one day for Canadian sports media, like would CBS gets or CBS, sorry, CBC gets all the rights to the games, or not even all the games. OUA TV could still be a thing. Wipe out the fee to pay for streams.
Yeah.
Because if CBS could do the Vanier Cup and all the national semifinals for free and air it on their app and on TV, pretty
Yeah.
sure OUA TV could do the exact same thing. That's just me though.
No, I
Um,
agree.
but I think they have like what CH used to do in Ontario for the OUA, or what the Score used to do. Marquee matchup of the week.
Yeah. Yeah, they should it would help this governing body so much. It would help the game, like the university football scene in Canada so much
Yeah,
if we were able to do something.
immensely.
But yeah, in terms of this game, like in total, it wasn't close at all. The score made it like like it really wasn't. Like the score was 30-16. It was, Montreal beat them by a fair bit, but just watching it, Montreal just kind of bullied them, and it
Yeah, like
was
Saskatchewan was struggling all out the gate to get anything going. They're trying to get a run game going. Montreal stopped that instantly. Pass
yeah,
game, the quarterback missed a lot of throws.
yeah.
Everyone's timing was off. It was just, but at the same time, the officiating really didn't help it out. Didn't help it out.
No, it didn't help it out, especially the one play. The one
Oh my
play,
God, when he was like 5 yards over the line of scrimmage, and they
yeah,
didn't call that.
that was
How
really
do you
strange.
have a job reffing? How are you
I
gonna how are you gonna take how are you gonna take this sport seriously in Canada if you're missing a call like that?
I don't know, and I don't think a lot of those refs go through like they do in the NFL and the NBA where they get like graded on their performance
They have to start.
refereeing
They
them.
have to start getting graded, man. That's ridiculous.
We're going to be doing some grades today though.
Yeah, we will be doing some grades, but before we get into the grades, you want to talk about anything else about the game, or can we go into the news?
We can go into the news. The game was, final words. It wasn't
It
close.
sucked. It
It
sucked.
wasn't a great Vanier Cup.
Yeah,
That's
and I really wish it was because man, we were talking about it. Oh my God, I'm dying over here. But when we were talking about it a week prior about the Vanier Cup, we were excited. We were absolutely pumped up. It was gonna be a good game. I thought it was gonna be a closer game. I thought it was gonna be a dogfight. I thought it was gonna come down to the final 2 minutes of the game. Instead, it was the complete opposite, and it had me almost taking a nap on my chair in my living
yeah.
room.
Yeah, no, I wasn't really like totally thrilled and I wasn't really locked into the game as much as I probably would have been,
Yeah,
Vanier Cups in years past. But in terms of the news, we do have Vanier Cup news.
yeah. Let's go to the Vanier Cup news, and then we talk about the conference realignment.
Oh, yeah, because we don't get enough of that in college sports. Um, so U Sports announced back on the 21st that the Vanier Cup in 2027 will be held at the University of Laval. So the Rouge et Or will be hosting the 2027 Vanier Cup. It might not be that striking of a headline, but it is worthy to note because Quebec City will be hosting the Vanier Cup next year, and then it will go to Laval in 2027, which means that the championship game will be held in Quebec for the next 2 seasons. And they have a new sponsor,
Oh, who's the
Daniel.
new sponsor?
Green Shield is the new sponsor for 2026 and the 2027 Vanier Cup game. So
What is that? What's Green Shield?
Green Shield is Canada's only national nonprofit healthcare and insurance organization.
Sweet. We used to have Adidas, Under Armour, and Nike, and New Era or whatever. Now we got the health insurance.
Green Shield, go Green Shield.
Boom, let's go.
That's what I'm saying.
We're
But
having a milk to go.
but that's basically the Vania Cup news. And then in terms of conference realignment, this is a big one because it will shape the landscape of the RSEQ next year for basically through like the middle to lower tier teams. I'm not sure if Montreal and Laval will be too affected by this, but I digress. We will see. Bishop's University, having been in the AUS for um, the last 8 seasons, is going back to RSEC. So Bishop's University in Quebec, that's where the university is. They
Huge.
play currently in the division out east, the conference, excuse me. So
Yeah.
they play teams like Acadia and Mount
Yeah, they're
Allison.
playing the AUS, the Atlantic University schools. What is
Yeah,
that? Sports?
I don't
AUS?
know.
Atlantic University Sports? That has to be it, right?
It could be. I mean, we have Ontario University Athletics, so maybe it's
That sounds so much better, man. And then we got Canada West.
Canada West, man. That's all you need.
That's all you need. And then you got, the AUS, But I really like this for Bishops going back to like the RSEC because everyone's talking about the traveling costs and stuff like that from Bishops. Like teams are getting tired. It makes a lot of sense. I think they should have never left. The reason why I think they should have never left is because why you like that's basically dropping down a division. That's dropping down a conference.
Well, they left originally because they couldn't compete in Quebec, and they made that was the official reason. So
Why?
it was they cited exact. If you look it up, why Bishops left originally is because of competition issues. So
But they
they
didn't
were
even do that good in the US.
well, I know they didn't win it this year, and like the AUS is like, I mean, St. Mary's had a really good year this year. I'm not sure if that's going to translate over
Like
the
how
next.
many conference titles in the last eight? How many times has Bishop won the AUS? Ever?
How many times has Bishops won the AUS?
Yeah.
Two. Oh, I mean, they won. I think they've won it a bunch.
Okay, so yeah, never mind then. Yeah, like that. See, now there's just talks about how unknowledgeable I am about the AUS.
Well, they
It's like,
won
what?
it last year. I remember that. I'm
Yeah,
not
I
sure if
know
it
it's
was.
weak and stuff. Like I know they're like, dude, it's a weak conference, but
Yeah.
man, like if you want to, bring top tier athletes to your schools,
Hmm.
you got to play in the best conference. You got to play in the best conference. You can't ever drop down a conference
No.
unless your coaching is lazy and you don't want to find a real coach that wants to get dirty. And now I think them going back to the RSEC is let's bring some real players in, not bashing the players they have now or the past
Yeah.
8 years. It's like they can now get guys from Montreal, Quebec, like, anywhere from Quebec.
Yeah. They can. But like to me, like this just kind of makes the AUS that much more unwatchable.
True,
Because
yeah,
now
thanks.
now it's like a two team conference. Basically, it's St. Mary's and then St. FX. Those are your two teams going.
Maybe Mount Allison will pop up there in Sackville and get some wins.
Well, I don't know about that, man. If you check those stats, their team stats, they are at the bottom of the list. Like it is bad,
You know what I
man.
actually really got to talk about though?
Like they averaged like 3 yards a carry rushing this year.
Ew, ew.
It's gross football,
Just,
dude.
just, just terrible football. But you know what I don't understand? Well,
What?
I don't even want to know the answer because this is me gonna be talking bad about it for a little bit. Football's an expensive sport.
Yeah.
There's a reason why a lot of universities in Canada don't have football programs because it's expensive. You keep on losing year in and year out. How do you, you know, with your athletic director and your school board, be like, hey, I am going to continue funding this, even though you guys stink? Look at SFU though. Simon
Yeah.
Fraser University. They went to the Division two level, lost every year, and the program disbanded because you're not getting wins and the quality. Why did we leave the Canada West?
No, and now they're applying to come back to U Sport.
Yeah, and but now without a football team, and I think they cut a lot of programs too.
Yeah, the track team is going to be no more because there's no national title for track in Canada. And then McGill just cut like 15 university sports
Yeah, I
last.
saw that. Like, but to be honest, I can totally like people are obviously gonna be mad that their sport is getting cut from like their university, so now they have to go and find a new university, go for transfer or whatever they have to do. And I understand that, but at the same time, it's on the players and it's on the coaches. You don't result in wins. You don't show results. The athletic directors and the school board, they're gonna have to cut your team because if you bring in no money and you don't bring in any promise, you're just a bad football team that just is that school is now going to be known for. You're a bad
Yeah,
football team. You're a terrible lacrosse team, or you're a terrible soccer team, or you're a terrible basketball team. Nobody wants to go play somewhere that's terrible
no.
unless you're getting paid. Like trust me, like pro athletes, money talks. But
Yeah.
people want to go play and get some wins in their university levels, and like unless you have like only one offer and like your hands are tied and you're like I have to go play here.
Yeah, it's you don't no one wants to play for a loser, and that's pretty well it. And
It's pretty fact. Like to be honest, like when I see programs get cut, I go, yeah, uh, how did they do historically? And
yeah,
if they
like
did historically terribly, I go, you guys were actually just sucking money out of the university.
what was your record the last 5 years? Like
Exactly. Yeah. Like I'm surprised that they never taken away York. But now they're promising. Now you can see the progression. So they're never going to leave because you can see the promise. If some teams just had promise.
well, we're gonna get into York. We're gonna get into
Yeah,
York with
we
you.
will get in New York, but they showed some promise this year.
They did.
But it's not hard to go from 0 wins to one win that was literally given it to you because of a forfeit, and to now two actual wins. But we'll talk about that a little bit more. But you have any other news, or we're gonna walk into the report card time?
We're good for grades, man.
All right, so we're gonna go into the grades here. So the grades are gonna be based off how the offense performed this year, how the
Yep.
defense performed, how special teams performed, and how the coaching was. So I'm saying like clock management, getting their players ready for battle. Did they look ready, or did he just throw a bunch of kids out there and they looked raw, like terrible? And then we have two other ones: the expectations met and do your job grade. And Nick will explain that because those are the grades that he wanted.
Yeah, so expectations, Matt, is pretty self-explanatory. Did you meet your expectations that were set out for you this year? Your consensus expectations, what were people saying about you? And then, did you meet those standards? And the Dear Job grade is kind of like that, but a little more game specific. I got the idea from Bill Belichick's quote in that 2014 NFL Films documentary where he's telling the guys like, do your job. So we're gonna see if these teams did their job this year. And when I mean that, I kind of boil it down to if you're a good team, did you lose against a bad team at one point this year? Did
Yeah,
you do your job? Did you lose a game that you should have won? If you're a bad team, did you beat Western or did you beat a Laurier? Obviously, Laurier didn't lose the regular season, but did you beat a
yeah,
good team? Did you do your job? And so it's kind of a little bit more game specific in terms of the do your job grade, but
yeah.
yeah, it kind of feeds into the expectations met as well.
So we're gonna start with Nick. I don't know if you have them posted up. Do you have the report cards posted up like beside you or anything near you?
I got it in front of me.
Okay, perfect. So we're gonna start with the Queens Golden Gales. They went 5-3 this year. Yate Cup champions. Nick, what did you give the grade on offense?
I gave him an A on offense. If you look at them, they were amazing on offense. They were third in the nation in scoring, third in points per game. They scored 40 points per game, third in total offense, third in yards per game, seventh in passing yards. Like they had a dominant overall offense. They were fun to watch. They weren't exactly like, they were very balanced, I should say. Quarterback was Alex Freakin. He's a good quarterback. He knows he can make right decisions. He knows how to go through his reads in a rapid manner. He knows when to let go of the ball. He's got a half decent arm, but no one's gonna confuse him with Taylor Algersma.
Yeah.
So the beauty of him is really is the beauty of the offense in general, and that really leads into not leads into, but that's also credit to head coach Steve Snyder. The offense is balanced. They had that rushing attack with Jared Kazari. Yards per rush, they had Kazari and co averaged 7.5 yards per rush. That's third in the nation. 186 rushing yards per game. That's sixth in the nation. They were a very, very, very dominant offense in their own right. And they mostly got overlooked because of the other teams in the conference. But in terms of offense, I gave them an A.
And then what about the defense?
A plus. That wasn't even hard for me.
Yeah.
I've seen Queens in person. I've seen Queens on the OUA TV app. And the one thing about this team, their calling card was their defense. They were absolutely fantastic. And it was truly dominant. Their front
Yeah.
seven, their pass rush with guys like Ollie Jackson, Stephen Capahey, Eli Burnett. And then you go to their linebackers they might have arguably, I said,
Okay.
so Husky fans will get mad at me, but the best defensive player in the nation in Justin Pace, number 44. He was utterly dominant in the Yates Cup. He had an interception in I
Mitchell Bull.
believe the Mitchell Bowl. Yes, it was the Mitchell Bowl. He had an interception, and he had a really good year in general. They had a veteran secondary. Keegan Vanek had a bunch of picks. John Corskadden. There's not enough really great things to say about their defense. Like they were fantastic. They suffocated teams, and they were also first in the nation for interceptions. Like
Yep.
out of every other team, they had 13 picks this year.
First in
So
Canada in interceptions. So let's go into special teams.
specials was I gave him a B because and for me when I grade specials, and this has a lot to do with U Sports stat keeping, which is pretty bad to say the least.
Okay, yeah, it
Um,
is.
this is mainly judged on their kicking, their punting, things like that, because U Sports doesn't really keep track of return stats. And regardless, I don't think that they did anything notable in the return game this year in terms of scoring a bunch of touchdowns, but they had a really good kicker this year in Tyler Mullen. I believe he was his kick sent them to overtime against Western back in like week one.
Oh yeah, yeah,
So so when I look at special teams, I really rely on how clutch it is because in the toughest times, you're going to need your kicker to bail you out. You're going to have
yeah,
to send your punting unit out, and you're going to have to hope for your punter to air it out 50, 60 plus yards and then pin a team back. So they did a really good job at all facets in special teams. So I gave them a B. And those three things kind of lead into this next one, which is the A plus coaching grade for Steve
yeah,
Snyder. And you as a Queens guy, a big Queens guy, you know all the things that Steve Snyder's done. You know how excellent of a coach he is and how much
yeah.
people were.
Yeah, like go Steve Snyder, man. Like I never really got to talk to him any times when Anthony was there, but man, like just the way that I've seen and seeing him like on the sidelines and how he coaches and how he really uplifts this team at times, and you can feel the passion he brought into the like the Queens program right off the bat. And how is
Yeah,
how his players and former players speak about him, man. He's the guy, and I think he's the guy that's going to take Queens to the promised land, and that promised land is going to be the Vanier Cup one day.
yeah, and look, Queens haven't won a Yates Cup in a long time before this, so for him to win this game, especially against an undefeated Laurier team, no less,
And
who
look
were a
dominant in that game too.
dominant, dominant, they dominated Laurier, like absolutely punched the Golden Hawks in the mouth,
Yeah.
and it was just an example that's it's taken a couple seasons as it always does with good programs and with good coaches because good things tend to take a long time. But that is Steve Snyder's brand of Queens Gales football right there. Like that is this year is I'm not going to say it's as good as it's ever going to get, but you will likely not see the fashion of Queens football dominance change much from what you saw this year, which was suffocating defense and a very balanced and lethal offense.
What do you have for your expectations met?
A plus, easy again, man. A plus, and that is just because I did not expect them to win the Yates Cup. I didn't expect them to win it in the way they did. I thought they were going to be a playoff team. Queens always does a really good job of building up a solid team. And last year, I was at Laurier for a couple of games, including 2 games against Queens. So I saw a lot of players that returned this year, and I thought they were building something special. But I really didn't think they were going to do this. I really
Yeah,
didn't.
it came to a shock. Like, I remember when we were talking about, the Yates Cup in our episode a couple weeks ago. Laurier, we all thought Laurier was going to go all the way.
Yeah.
Queens might have put up upset of the year.
Queens definitely put up the upset of the year in on the biggest stage, no less.
Yeah. What do you
In
have? Oh, sorry,
in an
go ahead.
away game too.
Yeah, and an away game against a well, he didn't play Ethan Jordan, didn't play in that game, but just
No, he didn't.
still a stacked offense in
Yeah.
Laurier, and that defense. That first half was unreal. The second half was a little rocky because but if there was maybe 2 more minutes left on the clock, who knows how that game would have ended.
Yeah.
But
But regardless, no one will know. And that's just history,
yeah, no
man.
one will know, and the reason why I never got there is because that first half, that offense was firing. Yeah, there we go, firing on all cylinders. That defense was firing on even more cylinders. That defense was just electric.
That defense was awesome this year. And they're definitely, I hope they have more. I think they're going to lose a couple of guys, but they should still keep up this almost same level of dominance that they had this year.
And they usually bring in good guys, in the recruiting class, and they
Yeah.
build them up. Like they do a good job of development over there in Queens, and you know, like they turn kids into men, and then turn them pro, or hopefully get
Yeah.
it. A lot of those guys will get a chance at pro. It just depends on Queens do their job to get you in the right, you know, get you in the right situation to go pro.
Yeah.
And it just the rest is just, it's not up to the athlete all the time. It's up to the scouts if the scouts like you. But the Queens will get you opportunities and they do a tremendous job in getting the guys in it. But one more grade you have is do your job grade.
Yeah, Queens did their job except for one instance, and that was their 31-28 loss to Windsor, and which I'm not going to fault them for too much because Windsor just had um by the numbers the best defense in the whole country. So Windsor's defense was the epitome of a suffocating defense. So I'm not really going to fault them for that too much, but besides that, that's why I gave them the B plus, but besides that, they did their job.
Yeah, so you gave the offense an A, defense an A plus, special teams a B, coaching an A plus, expectations met another A plus. Do your job grade a B plus for an overall grade of A. For the Queens Gales, the Yates Cup champions. Let's move on to the next team, the University of Toronto Varsity Blues. They went 1-7 this year. Darnell
Yeah.
Adams is the coach. Talk about their offense.
Yeah, so I gave their offense a B because for the first couple of weeks of the season, they were breaking records like left, right, and center. Led by quarterback Scott Barnett. In the first game of the year, he threw for, I
They
think,
look,
over
yeah,
600 yards or
yeah,
something
they
stupid.
they looked so promising from
Yeah.
week one. It was actually a crazy fall off.
It was really bad. They had Chris Joseph, wide receiver number 14. He had a record-breaking year, became the school's all-time receptions leader. He also broke yardage records as well. I
Yeah,
think he got first team All-Canadian,
yeah.
much deservedly. But yeah, I gave their offense a B just because of how explosive they looked to start the season out. They didn't they were rolling. They were utterly rolling, and that started with the big 42-23 win against Carleton in week one. So once they did that, that was when all the records are broken, and all of a sudden everyone's thinking that the varsity blues are going to be coming back into the mainstream picture. But um, overall, they lost games they should have won, and those were close games, and the majority of those games were close because of the offense. So that's why I gave the offense a B.
What about the defense?
A D. Defense is bad.
Gave them a D,
Defense was
right?
bad.
You're like D defense. Yeah, the defense got a D.
The defense was bad. The defense gave up a lot of points to a lot of pretty
Didn't they give
not
up like
good.
the third most points, or was it the first most points? One of the and all of the league.
I believe they gave up. I think it's Ontario,
Yeah. Okay.
something.
Yeah. Yeah. Something
But they lost.
crazy.
they lost some games they should have won. Like they're losing 26 to 23 to Waterloo, and then
Yeah.
they're 33 to 32 to York. And those are due to bad defenses because your
Hmm.
offense is keeping you in the games. Those are shootouts. The scores signify that the offense is doing their job, but the defense can't hold on. And then obviously you got the Queens debacle, which is 44 points. So, their defense was not good at all. They didn't in particular their pass defense was really atrocious. They only picked off 4 passes this year. They didn't return them for any yards, which is even funnier if you think about it. So,
Four interceptions, zero net yards.
yeah, 0 net yards. The run defense wasn't half bad, fifth in tackles, but besides that, like we're talking 23rd in sacks. We're talking uh we're talking giving up lots of penalties. We're talking about just like a sloppy defense.
Yeah. Let's move on to a special teams. You kind of just have to roll these off a little bit quicker just
Yeah.
because the timing. But yeah, let's go to special teams.
Special teams is a C just because they didn't do anything overly
Yeah, no, yeah, you're right.
like they didn't do anything overly great. They didn't have a notable kicker. There wasn't like Tyler Mullen with Queens or even Evan Astolfo against Waterloo where he kicked that game winner in Toronto.
Yeah, yeah,
But special teams wise, I gave them a C just because they did their job. They made their field goals, which is like it's what you're supposed to do. It's like making a free throw. Got to kick make your field
yeah.
goals. So I gave them a C just because they did the bare minimum. D minus for the coaching just because
When
the
you have team,
reasons
when
why
it,
I
sorry, but yeah, I
no,
like your
go
D
ahead.
minus grade right there for coaching because when you have a bunch of games you crumble in the fourth quarter with like 3 minutes or
Yeah.
less, that's also like that's on the players too. But as a coach, you got to keep your players in this. You got to keep the just Simon on, Simon on. And once you don't do that, you're gonna have debacles like that.
No, I agree. And that was exactly what I was going to say right there too. I gave the coaching a D minus because of those close losses. Close losses are that's bad coaching. Like ladies and gentlemen, that is bad coaching. Something went wrong with the coaching staff. Bad play calls were made. Clock management was not managed properly. Something happened, all right? But yeah, D minus. Expectations met. I gave them a B plus. And then this is going to be weird. All right. This is going to be weird. I gave them expectations met at a B plus just because everybody expected them to be awful. I expected them to win maybe no games. They won one game. They had close losses, which signify the talent of this football team, but also they were just breaking so many records. And they were, for a brief moment in time, the University of Toronto Varsity Blues were a problem.
Yeah,
Like for
yeah.
a brief moment in time, they were a problem. So I
Short. It
got
was
to
short lived.
it was short-lived, but for a program that hasn't had any success like at all in the last 20 years,
Yeah.
for them to come out and have a big game against Carleton, screw it. I'm giving you a B plus. I really am. And for the do your job grade, I gave them a B just because of they had the big win against Carleton, but they should have won a bunch. They should have beat Waterloo. They definitely should have beat York in that 33 to 32 game.
Yeah.
So there were some really close losses there. But in other words, guys, like do your job. Like what was their
It's simple. Like literally, as out. Just do your job.
do your job, man. Like just do your job. Don't lose by 1 point to a crappy York team. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
don't do that. Don't do that. But that's really my overall take, and that's why I gave them a C minus. In
Overall,
years
overall
past,
grade. Overall
yeah,
grade. C. Yeah. C minus.
I should have clarified that. I gave them a C minus overall grade just because for that brief flash in the pan moment in time, the Varsity Blues. We were talking about the Varsity Blues, man, and that's a win for them. For us to talk about University of Toronto
And
football,
you wrote an article, right?
I did write an article about. I mean, I wrote which one?
Didn't you talk about the Varsity Blues after? I think it was. Forget what you were talking about. It's when we were doing the Hurricanes game and we were just talking about your articles. I think you said something about. I don't think you wrote a complete article on the Varsity Blues, but you said something about the Varsity Blues in a positive way.
I
But that was
did.
it was like one of your first articles in the of the year.
I did a uniform ranking where I had the
Oh,
Varsity.
maybe that's what the positive mark was.
I think it was that, and then I did no, I also I think I might have included a varsity blue player on my breakout players, maybe. I might
Yeah, I
have
think
heard
that, no,
that.
that's exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
But yeah, C minus just because like in years past, like last year they were horrible. We didn't expect them to be great this
Mhm.
year, but for them just to play the way they did and show promise for years coming forward, that's why I'm
Yeah,
a C minus.
I think they have a good young coach that's gonna really like in Darnell Adams. I think he's a good coach. I know a couple of the guys that are on that coaching staff. I think overall they're it's a process.
Yeah,
But the way that the season went this year, that just that ruins a lot of processes. But with the coaching staff that they have intact, that process is still on its way to be completed because man, like they're gonna get these guys and they're gonna like, hey, this is the job you have to do. You guys barely did
yeah.
it this year. We gotta play 4 quarters of fuck you football, and I think that's exactly what they're gonna be doing this year. But let's move on to the York Lions. You know,
We can
two.
cuss.
What's up?
We can cuss.
Oh yeah, we can cut just a little bit, just a tad, just a tad.
Just a little
Just a little bit.
sprinkling.
I just had to say because man, next year I think the Varsity Blues are going to play some FU football.
No, they in the and you know what? I really hope for the sake of U Sports that the Varsity Blues becomes a good team again. Like
Yeah,
they're just good for U
big
Sports football.
university too.
Yeah.
Like a very good university, and if they have a good football program, that's
Yeah.
better for kids to come. But let's go to the York Lion. Not a good year, 2-6. What do you expect
Uh,
much from York? All our expectations, I want to say, are just always low for York, but they're showing promise, and I really like the CJFL route that they're going with signing a lot of CJFL guys, but they only have like 1 or 2 years sometimes, depending on the player, just left
mm,
before they age out. Um, but I really like what Dexter Janke is doing.
yeah.
But what do you
Yeah.
expect? Well, yeah, just go through the grade, yeah.
Okay, so I I was very disappointed in the York Lions. I think I have I was very disappointed.
Yeah, no, I
Um,
think I think everybody in Ontario was very disappointed because man, like people are talking about them like rebuilding this program. They bring in this coach that's really starting to, that's 2-0 for the Toronto Maple Leafs, Matthew Nice. But they're starting to feel it feels like he's trying to build a culture up in New York. So I really like what he's doing on his job. But when you bring, I think people are just expecting them to win now, and I get that because how many years have they had losing? But overall, everyone that they brought in, like they brought that quarterback, that transfer quarterback from McMaster,
yeah.
terrible. But yeah, go
So
on.
that was my point. Like I was so disappointed because Keegan Hall is one of the best quarterbacks in the country. Like this guy is a certified baller. And they also got McMaster's number one wide receiver, Nicholas Adair. So the expectations were hyped. Like at the beginning of the year, like I was talking to people and people were saying York was a definite playoff team. York might even be in the Yates Cup. Like
Yeah.
I was hearing insane things, and I didn't talk to them because like I need to see it first. But if we
See it to
dive in,
believe it.
yeah, I gotta see it to believe it. But if we dive into these grades here, you'll see my overall opinion because my disappointment is so strong that I can't even put it into words. So for the offense, I gave him a C plus just because they went 2-6. They scored a lot of points this year, like they really did. They were actually fifth in the country for total offense, fifth in in yards per game in total. But in terms of just overall passing yards, they were first. They were first in passing yards per game, so they had an explosive passing offense in
Yeah.
their right.
Yeah.
They won against U of T 33-32 in week one. They beat McMaster in a thrilling game, 31-24. Just shootouts, man, where
Yeah.
they're putting up a ton of numbers, but the defense was horrible.
I was waiting for
Horrible.
this. I was waiting for this because the grade you gave them is hilarious. But you're gonna say it. It's
It
hilarious.
it is so bad. And I gave Fs to a couple of teams this year, but I gave Fs. I'm a nice guy. I gave Fs to those that like truly deserved it. Like
Yeah.
these units were painful to watch. So you're like defense was an F and like That is just because they're keeping bad teams in this game with them. So
Yeah.
before we're talking about U of T and how they should have beat York 33 to 32. Well, why the hell is York letting U of T put up 32 points on them? Like that's my point. Dexter Yankee, he's a great coach. He's a former CFL pro. He was in the CJFL coaching before he was with York, and he was a defensive guy. He was a defensive player in the CJFL. And then you know it, you just outlined it at the beginning. The Lions just heavily recruit from the CJFL. So if
Mhm.
you look at their linebackers, their OUA All-Stars, look at their previous team they played for. It will most of the time say the CJFL, but man, the defense did this team no favors this year. Like the
Yeah.
defense was just, whew, like it was rough to watch. I was in York for the McMaster game, week one, and I expected York to absolutely take it to McMaster. But this Lions defense was they got pushed around a lot. They got pushed around a
They got
lot.
bullied, ball. They got bullied.
Yeah, they got bullied and they only put up 7 sacks this year. That's 25th in the country. So
Mm.
they weren't really putting a lot of pressure on these quarterbacks a lot. 13th in the country for tackles. Um, yeah, just an ugly defensive unit, not a really good unit at all. Special teams, they were all right. They did what they needed to do, no more, no less. I can't
Yeah.
really
Like a
give them a
C's a fair
huge
grade. C's a fair grade on their special teams.
She's a fair. I mean, they didn't. Like the only way you're going to get a D minus on my grades for your special teams is if you're the kicker and let's say like you're getting set up to
You're
just
missing like chip shots and like PATs.
yeah, like you miss like a 10 yarder, like I'm failing you in my grades.
Yeah, 100%.
So
That's fair. I think that's pretty fair.
I got no time for bad special teams, man. Like
No one does. No one in this world has better.
oh,
You play special teams, man, and we expect that ball to go through that upright
yeah,
every single time you kick a damn football. But
yeah.
let's go to coach or two. We just gotta speed these up because we don't want to go over like an hour and like 45. But like
Right.
we're on an hour already. We got 45 minutes, but I'm just saying because we only have like 10 more teams to do. But yeah,
Okay, so
let's go into coaching.
coaching, I gave them a D just because like they did win 2 games, so I can't give them a D minus or anything like that. But in total, like you know this, Daniel, you're a high school coach yourself. Like we just talked about with the University of Toronto, like these close losses are due to subpar coaching. And
Yeah,
also they lost to Waterloo. So
yeah.
I'm just gonna say that and let that hang out there. And that's gonna be
That's
my
not nothing else to say, I'm gonna say something on that. You know, it's clock management too.
yeah.
But at the same time, though, you have to talk to your players with between each drive, and you got to keep their motors high. You got to keep their motors going. And at times, York seemed like you know what it seemed like sometime on that sideline, a high school sideline. You know, all their friends playing against each other and jumping around. The game's not even over yet. You guys are in a one-score game, and you guys are joking around on the sidelines. You guys got to lock in.
Yeah, and York could have been a playoff team this year. Like 3 of their losses could have been wins. And those 3 losses came to Carleton, Waterloo, and Guelph, because Guelph wasn't all that great this year. But expectations met. This is another F. This is another huge F. Like this is just we came into this year thinking that Keegan Hall was going to help lead this
Mhm.
team with Dexter Yankee at the head coaching position. We thought that they were going to come in and then just bring back York Lions football, like just bring back this resurgence for the York football program. They didn't
Brand new
do
culture and
anything.
stuff like that type of stuff, like bring in a new culture. And they're
Like they
slowly doing that. It's slowly not resulting in wins. It's resulting in more headaches.
that and that's and my point for this year giving them an F was for the amount of talent they did bring in and for them to do as little as they did this year. That's bad.
And
That's
that's
bad.
fair. Like expectations, man. I wish there was a grade you could do worse than F.
I F minus, man. Like I'll give. I'm not afraid. I'll give an F minus. Um, and,
But
and
let's go with the do your job grade.
yeah, it's just self-explanatory. A
Mm.
D, kind of for the reasons why I outlined about bad coaching and meeting expectations. They should have won 3 of their losses, And that just comes with doing your job. And especially with all the talent you have on offense, with the passing numbers you're putting up, most passing yards per game, 350 passing yards per game almost, like those numbers should translate to more than 2 wins. So that's why I gave them a D on the do your job for an overall grade of a D minus, just because that D stands for disappointment. There, I'll end it at
Just strictly disappointment.
just disappointment, man. Disappointment. Because I
But
expected more from them.
let's go into another disappointing team. The
All right.
Waterloo Warriors, Chris Boytoya, head
Yeah.
coach there, 2-6.
Oh,
That's a you know, since the Ford brothers left, they've had a lot of unwatchable football seasons.
you're telling me
Um,
it's
and,
bad.
and at the same time, when the Ford brothers were there, their seasons were still damn near not watchable.
No, the only reasons why people tuned in was to see them try to carry this team.
Yeah, and
And
and it's a damn shame that I think they made the playoffs once or twice in 4 years.
yeah, they have not made the playoffs.
But I'm saying like when they had the Ford brothers, I don't think they made the playoffs. I think I mean maybe once.
I mean, I'm not sure completely to confirm or not,
But
but
I'm pretty
that
sure it was
does,
something like that. It was something like surprisingly, and with the talent they had just from those two guys, and you're not going to build around them. A little
but
ridiculous, but now let's go to the present. This is a little ridiculous. 2-6 this year.
yeah, 2-6. That's a bit better than U of T, but I just want to explain the difference between the D plus and the D minus I gave York. It's because I had more expectations from York than I did for Waterloo this year. I didn't expect Waterloo to be good. I never expect Waterloo to be good. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't. I don't expect
To
them to
be
be good at
honest,
all. It's why I gave them two straight Ds for offense and defense. It
yeah.
says something when the most positive grade is expectations met, and that is just because you can't get any worse than you are. So I really hope you don't have any Waterloo fans that watch your show because I'm going to be public enemy number one in Waterloo, but screw it. I don't care. Special teams, they were fine.
I
C plus,
actually really agree. I agree with you on everything that you just said ab- about it. The Chicago Bears have just beaten the Philadelphia Eagles. That's huge for the
did
Dallas
they?
Cowboys in the playoff race. Yep, the
Oh,
Chicago Bears, the Bears. But also, let's go back. That was hilarious, by the way. And I understand your frustration because there's a lot of people that, this program has been built from nothing to something. They have
yeah.
an infield house now. Like they're putting money into them, into the football team, into the football program. Like an offensive D plus, ridiculous because they have a good young quarterback that was like, people were talking about this guy going to be a good young prospect at the time,
Yeah.
Nick Orr, and he's just,
Yeah, Nick
he's
Gore,
just stalled out.
he's yeah, like they only put up 17 points a game on offense. They're 23rd in both yards per game and total offense, 18th in passing yards in the entire nation, 18th in passing yards per game. And then if you want to go down to their rushing is just as bad. They only had 3 rushing touchdowns this year. Like that is just bad football. And that's why I give them a D plus, but I give them a D minus just because on defense, like they okay, so Waterloo 2-6, they beat Toronto. Their other win comes against York, 34-33. So the York win we can say was an upset for Waterloo. But like look at the rest of these losses are like embarrassing. Like these losses are just like you lose to Windsor 35-0, and Windsor doesn't play offense well. Like
Bro, this
I,
team
I,
sucks.
this team
There's no sugarcoating
sucks.
it. Like it starts with the coaching though, and you put the coaching at C minus. Can you tell us why you put that coaching at C minus?
Yeah, I put the coach at C minus because he can't will his team to beat Carleton 19. He lost 19-14 to Carleton, and Carleton's no great shit. We're gonna get into Carleton later, but yeah, C minus for
Actually, it's actually they're not actually the next team.
yeah, they are the next team. So like C minus for coaching, just because. Okay, here it is right here. Here it is right here. You put up no points against Windsor. How do you put up no points against Windsor? Windsor had 3 passing touchdowns this year, and you didn't score. I didn't score. So yeah, like I ripped my hair out and I spent the least amount of time making these grades for Waterloo because I knew how bad they were.
Hmm.
And then expectations met. I already outlined it. You can't get any worse than you already are. And obviously they have 2 wins, but like the on-field product is bad.
Yeah.
The on-field product is bad. And it's sad for these players because it's not their fault. It's not these players' fault. Like, especially these first and second year guys who are just thrust into the fire. Oh, you got to go play 8-0 Laurier. Oh, great. What can happen? Just get spanked. And
Yeah.
then, like, and that's just because there's not really a disciplined, hierarchical, like, almost like structure. Like, it's just everything seems like such a mess all the time over there with Waterloo. And then the Deer job grade. I gave them a C minus because they beat a team that they shouldn't have beat with York. Like in reality, and they also, and you know what? They shouldn't have beaten Toronto. Toronto's a better team than Waterloo this year. Waterloo should have gone winless. They should have gone winless, but they managed to scrape by 2 wins by exactly 4 points against two of the worst teams in the province, no less. That is not doing your job, especially when you could have beat Carleton
That
as
is
well.
not doing your
No,
job.
man, that's not. That is malpractice.
We gotta move on because we got 24 minutes here.
Yeah.
Let's go to Carleton. Another disappointing team. Corey Grant, the coach there, head coach there, 3-5 record. Offense mediocre.
Yeah.
Defense probably the worst defense in U Sports.
Horrible. 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 Like I'm talking like giving up like 400, 500 yards of offense bad. Like the offense was good. Like they're led by Elijah Barnes. He's a Hamilton kid. He's a good
And
quarterback.
he's actually a good quarterback, a left-handed quarterback. And thank you to him for creating all the U Sports jerseys and NCAA beast, beast, beast.
That's love right there
But
from.
his team sucks.
But yeah, this team does suck. But the reason why they were 3-5 was because of mainly Elijah Barnes. And
And they did win the Panda Bowl this year, right?
they did. And they that was
That's
kind of
their Super Bowl, man.
yeah. And their coaching, like Corey Grant, here's the thing with Carleton is you're always gonna struggle in comparison to sharing the city with the GGs because the
Hmm.
GGs are always gonna have their pick of the litter with recruits. Like guys don't usually want to just go to Carleton. You want to go to Ottawa. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it's like, would you rather play for Georgia or Georgia Tech?
The Bulldogs.
Yeah, man, like the Bulldogs. So, but yeah, coaching was a C just because Grant did lead them to some good wins this year. They beat York, they beat Waterloo, and this was a team that I expected to be almost as bad as Waterloo this year. But they also won the Panda game, and the Panda game was the main reason why I had them as like a positive kind of grade. Expectations met. I gave them a B just because they won the Panda game. They beat the GGs. They did better than I thought they were going to do. I thought they were going to win maybe one, maybe 2 games
Yeah.
against Toronto and then the York game maybe. But yeah, they this was a good year for Carleton. They do your job, B minus. They This was a good year, C plus for an overall grade. Like this was a step in the right direction for them. It's not going to jump off the screen or anything like that, but overall, you got to look at this in a somewhat positive sense for the Carleton Ravens.
I like that a lot. I also like the Panda game. I think that's one of the best games in college, in
Yeah,
all of college, from the States to Canada. The Panda Bowl, the Panda game, or whatever they call it now. I'm pretty sure it's called the Panda Bowl, maybe just the Panda game. Um, Tremendous. And I love how everyone storms the field after two, whoever's team wins.
yeah,
Tremendous. Um, but let's go to Guelph. I got to highlight a player here on Guelph. Marshall McCray. He's
yeah,
done a good job at, he's quarterback too, but when he gets thrown into that, he makes plays. He's a flashy player. And I want to say, we give him an overall grade. I'm going to say the overall grade right now, a C plus, but the offense an A minus. And I think a lot of it is because they were consistent in the red zone this year when they got up to there.
mhm,
Direct snap right to Marshall McCray. Marshall McCray jumps
yeah,
over a person. Touchdown. Guelph Griffins. Marshall McCray. But a 3-5 record, beating one of the biggest upsets in the playoffs this year too, beating Western Upper Rouge. Thank God, they're changing that rule in the CFL. But yeah,
yeah.
hey, you're playing within the rules. Good win.
Yeah, I'm a little disappointed in Guelph. Guelph for me was going into this year, they were the third best team in Ontario. So I had Laurier, Western, Guelph, Queens. That was my four. And I thought Guelph was going to be a lot better than they did. I didn't expect them to beat Laurier in week one, but in week two, they got blown out by Western. They're this is a talented team, and that's why they have A minus grade on offense, is because mainly because of their rushing prowess. We're talking third in rushing yards per game, over 200 yards rushing per game. We're talking fourth in yards per rush, 7.5 yards per rush. We're talking fifth in rushing first down. So they're able to convert a new set of downs on the
Yeah,
ground almost super easily. And then here's another one for you, Daniel. They were fourth on third down conversions.
I like
Like
that. In the middle,
that
like,
just shows you they have talent on offense.
but you know what happened though? Like, a lot of the games, like I want to say, majority of the games were shootouts
Yeah.
this year, but the defense just couldn't get an important stop this game. That's what it felt like. I'm gonna be honest. Like, yeah, I didn't watch every single game. I probably watched maybe like four games out of the eight. But I want to say the games that I did watch, it seemed like their defense couldn't get an important stop.
Yeah. That's why I have them at C minus. Their defense was just if the defense was a bit better this year, they could have beaten Laurier, but they just give up way too many points in just times that they shouldn't. Like they lost to Queens 27-17. Like that's a close game. And you're talking they're giving up like almost 30 points to Carleton. Like
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
that's not great. That's not
And,
good.
and another, we're gonna go to special teams right now. An F grade. I really like that because they had a guy last year. We know him very well.
Mhm.
Gabriel Canabrava.
Yeah.
He is probably the best or one of the best, place kickers in the
Yeah.
CJFL. But this year, the kicking game, the return game, like the punt off team, it just looked like a mess. People, but there's a lot of people that are gonna be like, I don't watch special teams. Trust me, I've had to watch special teams for 4 years. My brother plays special teams in the CFL, and I've really gotten a real liking to special teams. And I coach it too sometimes when I'm at St. Paul, like when I coach high school. It looked messy, and I hate that.
Yeah. And the reason why I gave them an F is because they only made 28% of their field goals. Like that is bad. And
That's
teams like
terrible.
some team like you'll find teams that make like you should sit in the 80 to 85% range. You should
Yeah,
not make only 20% of your field goals. And that goes into like okay, so coaching D minus Mark Surya, he's a good young head coach. So this is
yeah.
not me bashing him as a head coach. This is just for this year in general. Like
Mm,
he did not do enough to help his team win games that they should have. And that is they did win the game against Western, no less. So that I will acknowledge that. But like you're losing to Queens 27-17, the eventual Yates Cup champion. You have an opportunity to beat them. That's coaching.
mhm.
You're losing 30-23, 7 points to the Ottawa GGs. That's coaching. You
Yeah.
lose 10 points to McMaster. That's coaching. I was there. That's coaching. So
It is coaching. The coaching is, as a coach, I'm a young coach. I'm a high school coach. So I can't compare career paths or can't compare, jobs to, obviously these university coaches because they know the game. They're a bigger game. They have a bigger football mind than me. They see the game totally differently than I do. But when it comes down to what I've realized as a young coach, 22 years old, you really, really have to be on your players.
yeah.
You got to keep them locked in at all times. 'Cause there was times where it felt like they weren't serious. They were crumbling. They were just like I'm okay with players being, pissed off. I like it. It shows the passion. It shows that they care.
Yeah.
But don't be pissed off on the field while you're playing the game. Go to the sideline when your drive's over and I don't know, smash your helmet or whatever the hell you got to do, man. But sometimes a lot of this year, or a couple times that I've seen some instances, they're just latching out on, the field.
Yeah. And that's discipline in general, and that's just like a bad cultural mentality. I gave them B for expectations met because, like I said, like I expected them to be in the Yates Cup or at least around that point, but
Hmm.
they weren't. The reason why I gave them a semi-positive grade is because they actually beat Western. So, and that's a
Yeah.
monumental thing for Guelph is to beat Western. So, which leads me into the do your job. They kind of did their job. They didn't really like you're not really doing your job by losing to Ottawa. You're not really losing by 7 points, no less. You're not doing your job by losing by 10 points to Queens.
Yeah.
You know, the Laurier game is different because like that offense was outstanding, but um, McMaster, that loss, that's not doing your job. Like you absolutely cannot lose to McMaster. So that's why I gave them an overall grade of C plus, is because they were okay this year, but overall they regressed as a program.
Yeah, no, 100%. I agree with you on that. But let's go to the Ottawa GGs, the team that actually runs Ottawa,
Yeah.
even though they lost the Panda Bowl, Panda game. The Ottawa GGs here, 4-4 record. Pretty solid year. Not the greatest. A lot of inconsistent times, but a lot of consistency that we haven't seen in years. And the greatest thing is, we finally have a debate on, because with Ottawa, it's usually one side's really good and the other side's really bad. I
Yeah.
want to say this year, it was a little bit same. Like, it was pretty good on both sides of the ball this year.
Yeah, and that's why I gave them like pretty good grades on offense. I gave them a B just because they were fairly balanced, almost like a lesser version of the Queens offense, but they're led by a very serviceable quarterback in Josh Jansen. Their rushing game took a major hit this year, which was what they were actually billed as strongly going into this year was the rushing game led by Charles Asselin, but they really didn't get anything going on the ground this year. Defense was an A minus. Like, okay, these guys were dogs, man. Like this front seven was awesome. And they had a linebacker, Hildebrandt, who is up there in sacks. But just in total, like they recovered the most fumbles in the entire country. They picked off 8 passes in general, so that's a decent total. Seventh in sacks, they're just a pretty serviceable, good defense. So,
Yeah.
and they did their job this year against teams that they should have. Special teams was a C. It was, nothing more, nothing less. Coaching was a C minus just because like Ottawa shouldn't have lost the Panda game.
It felt like they
And
couldn't close out games. Like, I was just about to say that. I felt like they had the nail in the coffin at some times and they just couldn't. It felt like the hammer was missing the nail majority of the time when they're trying to nail that coffin shut.
yeah, they should have had 6 wins because they should have beat Carleton and they also should have beat Laurier, where they were pretty well stopped on the goal line and they lost 30 to 24. So they have a bunch of close losses. And then they also lost to Windsor 30 to 24. So
Hmm.
those are 3 losses that should have been won. Ottawa definitely should have had a strong playoff run, but they didn't. Expectations met. I gave them a B just because I didn't expect them to really be in a notable playoff spot, and they weren't. And then the D plus for the D year job grade, that's for those 3 bad losses to Laurier, Carleton, and then the last one being Windsor, where they all lost by 6 points. But those
Hmm.
3 losses were all by 6 points. So
Yeah.
3 winnable games, 3 straight losses.
If they
For
get an overall grade of a B minus,
yeah,
next season, sorry, they need to, win that Panda game. They
yeah.
need them to have a better season. I want to say they have to have at least a 6-2 record next year, depending on what the schedule looks like. I'm pretty sure the schedule's not even out yet, and there's no way the season just ended. Um, they have to win 6 games next year. I think they have a lot of talent here. I think they have a lot of raw talent. I think they have a lot of young kids. But let's move on to McMaster because we actually have only 11 minutes remaining, and we have a couple teams to go, and a couple of very important teams to still talk about. We still got to talk about the Western Mustangs and the Laurier Golden Hawks. But right now, let's go quickly into, the McMaster Marauders.
I'll,
They went 4-4. Um, they have a good coach. What's the, I think he's a top five coach in youth sports.
yeah, I mean, he's been doing it for a long time, and he's been at Mac for six. This was his 16th year at Mac, so
Yeah.
I'll
And
make
he
this.
left for like 2-3 years and he came back.
Yeah, he went to coach with the Ticats for a bit
Yeah.
as their offensive coordinator, and then he came back to McMaster. But
He
also,
is though, for a second, he is McMaster football and he is forever indebted into Hamilton sports. And
yeah,
I think him as a coach, like I think they missed out on a lot of recruits when he went and, coached the Tiger Cats because, the coach that replaced him, everyone knows the stories. He was kind of an asshole. Uh, but him as a person though. he is he's generally just a great football guy, and he's generally nice. Like he's a generally nice guy. Usually
Yeah.
you'll meet coaches and they'll just be like, a little like sometimes a douchey.
Yeah.
This guy's
But
generally an awesome guy.
no, this guy just lives, sleeps, breathes football. Like that's all he is. And he's like you said about him being indebted or in with the Hamilton sports scene, he gave McMaster their first and only Vanier Cup to date. So
2011, the greatest Vanier Cup game of all time at BC Place. You can watch it, the full game actually on YouTube, and that's what I did at 3:34 in the morning because I couldn't sleep. It was actually awesome.
that's insane. Oh, a great way at 3 a.m. to spend your night. But
Dude, when I can't sleep, I will actually go and Google just random games, and I'll just watch it from the first. Sometimes I fall asleep um, through it because I probably watched it before, but this is my first time rewatching the game since I was a child, bro. So it had me hooked. I knew McMaster won it, obviously, but it had me hooked on
yeah,
how it finished. We gotta continue, but excellent.
excellent game. But yeah, I'll get through these ones quickly. So basically, all you need to know about McMaster, which is why they have so many Bs, is that they were better than they were thought they that people thought they were going to be this year. Like
Yeah,
much better. Like I thought McMaster was going to go winless, maybe even win one game. They didn't. They nearly made the playoffs. They beat Guelph for their homecoming game. I was there. That was a massive, massive game. But in general, like this was a positive outlook on this program going forward. 4-4, nearly making the playoffs. Um, and a lot of people were saying that this could be the final year of Patasik's tenure at Mac because some were talking about the hot seat and this and that, but he proved them otherwise. And McMaster
I
going
don't
into
think. Yeah, I've heard about that. I don't think you ever fire a guy like him.
it's hard
There,
to.
because I think he's like, I could compare him to how likable he is by his former players. Because I've talked to a bunch of McMaster former players because just going to school in Hamilton, you kind of just come across, the local celebrities, the McMaster Marauders, but just how they talk about him, like former athletes that he
Yeah.
coached, is like the same thing I'm getting from like former athletes talk about, Steve Snyder.
Mhm.
Um, and the likable that he is around youth sports, these guys come like I think once in like 10 years.
Yeah, these guys are they're not common, and if you find one, you should hang on to them.
Yeah, it doesn't even matter. He can lose every single game for the rest of his life. You just keep this guy, even though he won't because he's a good damn coach and he knows how to win football games. But I'm saying like he gets a lifetime contract with at McMaster.
Yeah. I mean, it would be the right thing to do.
Yeah, 100%. But you gave them an overall grade of B, just strictly B. Offense was a D plus
Yeah.
though. They were sloppy at times.
Yeah, the offense was sloppy at times. It was really the reason why they lost a bunch of these games is that they couldn't score points, but their defense was stellar and they were actually, I think, fourth in the country in sacks. So the front seven was amazing this year. And special teams, I give them a B minus because I like their punter is amazing. I think
Yeah.
he averaged like 58 yards per punt. And then their return game was pretty good as well. Coaching, like Potasic was wonderful when he needed to be this year. There were a few instances where things could have been handled a bit better, but for the most part, like 4-4, like, I can't give them any worse that or a better grade than B.
hmm So let's move on to Windsor.
Yeah.
Really liked how Windsor looked this year at times. Really liked it at times.
Mhm.
5-3 record they had. You gave them an overall grade of A minus, A plus on the
Mhm.
defense. Want to talk about that
Yeah.
for a little bit?
Yeah, their defense is ridiculous. So Windsor this year is one of the most boring teams you can watch because they actually didn't do anything on offense in comparison to their defense. Um, so they were first in the country in sacks. They also had, I think they were third in the country in interceptions as well. Second in the nation in defensive touchdowns scored. Um, Actually, they were tied with Queens for first with 13 interceptions.
Bang.
So that's my they recovered 5 fumbles, but in comparison to the offense, I mean, like they really didn't do anything at all. So the offense was 24th in passing yards, 18th in yards per game, 24th in passing yards per game. The rushing attack was pretty good, averaging 7.3 yards per carry, nearly 200 yards rushing per game. So they were just your classic grind them out on
Yeah,
offense.
it was a grindy football team, and that's
Yeah.
what you need. Like Windsor always bases off grind, hustle,
hmm
toughness. I really like what their coach JPC is doing over there. 5-3
hmm
record for your Windsor Lancers, an A minus overall grade, an A minus on expectations met, A on do your job. But let's go to A on the coaching.
hmm
Talk about that.
It's just because of the way that Cercelli helped them win games this year. So, like when you're looking at their schedule and then you see them beating Waterloo 35 nothing, so they're shutting out a bad team, which
Yeah.
is like in comparison to Waterloo should have put up some points. It's not easy to shut out any team at all. So that's good coaching. You have tough wins. The three straight wins against Ottawa, Queens, and then Ottawa again is massive. Like that was massive for me. They beat Queens 31 to 28 in Kingston. So that is good coaching. That is, as you were saying before, keeping your guys locked in, keeping them disciplined, and then keeping them ready to go.
And that's
So,
exactly what he did at all times. I was actually at the varsity Blues game against Windsor, and I was so fascinated on what I was looking at on their sidelines. Every single one of those players were locked in from the first quarter to the fourth quarter.
hmm,
Um, and the way that the coaches speak to their players, tremendous. They talk to them like they're actually humans, not, players that are playing to keep their jobs. You know what I
mhm.
mean? Like they talk about and the way that that coaching staff talks to their players is tremendous. I absolutely love it because they're like, "What do you see out there? What do you see out there? You seeing something I'm not seeing?" Yeah, coach, I'm seeing this, this, that, that, that. Coach relays, all right, bet sounds good. We're gonna run it like this. Love that. I was
Yeah,
eavesdropping though, and I love eavesdropping on sidelines. I love it.
yeah. It's the sideline experience is unbeatable. Like just from getting to hear things like that. And yeah, like he's a good coach. And I've heard it from a number of people that I talk to as well. Is he's just like almost like a football crazed, just like the guy loves football. Like
Just a
he
football guy.
just a football guy, man. Like just a good old fashioned football guy.
But let's move on to Western. We have a couple more. We have actually two more teams to talk about in the OUA. Then we have two other teams to talk about. Montreal and Saskatchewan. So let's get through these a little quicker. Um, Western, the Mustangs, 7-1 record. Greg Marshall, you gave them an overall grade of B.
Yeah. And that's a lot to do with them losing in the Eights Cup to Laurier, but also them losing to Guelph in that horrendous ending for them, which was just my God, like that was
Just so
bad.
that's like so devastating for like the fourth years and the fifth years, like the seniors, man. That is devastating way to lose a football game.
Yeah, and it's usually something you don't see that from a team coached by Greg Marshall at all. Like when we talk about the best coaches in Canada, like the short
Greg
list
Marshall.
is Greg Marshall, Glenn Constantine at Laval, Ida Luca at Montreal, and then I would say Potasic as well at McMaster. Those
Yep.
are your, like gold standard coaches. So Western to me, I gave them an overall grade of B because they didn't do their job, Daniel.
Yeah, they simply did not do their job.
They didn't do their
Everybody
job.
had this matchup circled on their calendar because there was potentially everyone thought they were going to see it. Western versus Laurier, they didn't get to see it. And do your job grade. That's got to break just strictly to a C because if you don't make it to the Eights, and especially with that talent on that Western football team, coached by one of the best, if not the greatest, coach in youth sports, Greg Marshall. Yeah, you just simply did not do your job.
No, you didn't. Western is always expected to be in the Yates Cup every year, and then every year that they're not in the Yates Cup is a disappointment. So that is why I gave them a grade of B this year. The only thing that saved them was how good their offense was with Ethan Dolby at running back.
Yeah, 100%. But let's go to the Laurier Golden Hawks. Great program there, taking U Sports by storm.
hmm
The Laurier Golden Hawks finished 8-0 in the regular season. You gave them an overall grade of B plus. Their coaching staff and coaching as alone as their head coach is tremendous. Talk about your grade because by the way, when I'm editing this, they're gonna see the cards, so it's gonna be
Okay.
perfect. And you could also, for people at home, you can also see the report cards. If you want to take a little screenshot or whatever, instead of taking a screenshot here, go to the Daniel Federico show on Instagram, and all the report cards will be there. But yeah, talk about Laurier. Bang! I tried to do a shameless plug.
No worries, man. I'm in for plugs. So, but for Laurier, I mean, I gave them a tick above Western's B grade because they actually made the Yates Cup. So they actually made it back to where people expected them to make
Yeah.
it. But the way they lost that game is the reason why I dropped them down from an A minus to a B plus.
Mhm.
Um, Look, the offense, like they're the gold standard in the country. Like nobody
With
offense
Withers, like Withers was a great quarterback.
great quarterback, first team All Canadian, Ethan Jordan, Heck Crichton winner,
Yeah, just got
multiple.
signed to his CFL contract, Ethan
Yeah.
Jordan.
Multiple OUA All-Stars. Like when we're talking about offense being played in Canadian university ball, like no one does it better than this team.
Yeah,
Like that is,
100%.
and I was there at training camp. These guys fly. But they get the overall grade of B minus, a B plus, excuse me, just because of the Yates Cup. They have nothing else that you can really pick them apart for. Sure, they won some close games that they should have blown, teams out by more in, but if you go 8-0 and you lose in the Yates Cup and you get down, what was it like? Were they down like 27 nothing at halftime?
Yep.
Yeah, so you're down 27 nothing at
With like
halftime.
four interceptions in the first half, something like that, three, I think.
They absolutely blew it. Like that's
Yeah.
just what it was. So they just blew it. But
It was just an offensive collapse.
it was. But going forward, like this is still the team to look
And
at.
you're
No,
never gonna see that ever again. Like that's a type of loss where you go, okay, we're never gonna have that happen again. That's not Laurier football. That's not Golden Hawk football. You're never gonna see a collapse in that offense ever again. I predict it.
no, and I like look, the teams that should be looked at as the best in Ontario going forward next year should be Queens and Laurier again. Like the same two teams because they've proven to be the two best over the course of the season, and Western will be losing a lot of longtime starters going into next year.
Let's go into now the Canada West U Sports report card. The Saskatchewan Huskies, you gave them an overall grade of A minus, but yeah, because they went to the Vanier Cup, they finished the regular season 7-1. Their head coach Scott Flory is amazing.
He is amazing, and he did a wonderful job with them this year. So I'm not a Can West guy, so I'm not. My knowledge with Can West isn't like it is with the OUA. But going into this year, Saskatchewan was viewed as a dominant team, but Manitoba, the Bisons, were viewed as the best team. Like they were looked at as they were going to win the Hardy Cup, they were going to go to the Vanier Cup. This was supposed to be Manitoba's year, but Saskatchewan they just quietly went about beating everybody. So like
And
the only team that did,
especially like what happened in house this year, just 5 games in the season, the quarterback, having,
yeah.
a serious problem, like not a serious, health problem, that's gonna
Mhm.
affect the team too, because man, that's their brother. That's
Yeah.
the brother they just went to battle with. And just for the coach to gather his players, gather his guys, and make this run to the Vanier Cup, 10 out of 10.
Yeah. And Anton Emmondred's a fifth year guy too. So a lot of these guys have spent multiple seasons playing with him.
Yeah.
So yeah, this was an emotional year, and it all really it goes towards the credit of Scott Flory being able to kind of will his team to the Vanier Cup, even in the face of all of this uncertainty with his quarterback's health and whatnot. But yeah, this team was just awesome this year. Like
Yeah.
they were great. I gave them an A minus because really like they're just a super balanced football team overall. Like on offense, they're kind of like the Can West version of Queens. They have a super talented quarterback, running back, wide receiver. But the defense was like Queens, just utterly dominant, led by Seth Hundeby, President's
Yeah,
Trophy.
we even saw it. Like we saw it in Saskatchewan versus Queens game and in the national semifinals. That defense was swallowing Kazari, probably one of the best running backs in U Sports.
Yeah, but they had a good year. I expect them to be at the forefront of Can West next year. But yeah, I can't give them anything less than an A minus.
I really like that. Let's go to our last report card here, and again for everyone that's viewing at home, every single report card will be posted on the Daniel Federico show. The Montreal Caribbean, the Vanier Cup champions, they went 6-2 in the regular season. They have a very, very good head coach that's very respected in the world. I want to say the world of football, but for sure Canadian football. Marco De Luca. Talk about that
Yeah,
team. You gave them an overall. You gave them an overall grade of A plus, and I respect that because man, they're Vanier Cup champions. They had a
yeah.
they had I would say making it out of our just beating Laval was a tough road right there. Yeah, they had an
Mhm.
easier semifinal matchup against an AUS team, but at the same time, they had to go and beat Laval, and they had to try to beat. They had to play Laval twice this year, or yeah, twice this year. That's
Yeah,
tough.
and
Yeah, go
they
ahead,
beat
brother.
them already in the regular season too. So they were just like Montreal was a wagon this year, and they were just like they were led by a new quarterback, Pepe Gonzalez. He won the Peter Gorman Trophy for the Rookie of the Year, the National Rookie of the Year, I should say. And in his first year, he's winning the Vanier Cup. He's breaking Jonathan Senecal's passing touchdowns record in a single season, and he's still got 3 or 4 more years to go if he wants. Like in reality, like this team this year was always the best team in Canada, and we just never really looked at them as such because Laurier and Western had kept up undefeated streaks for so long, and by that point, I think McGill had beaten Montreal. So everyone looked at Montreal and they were like, "Oh, they got beat by McGill," but it was like, no, they should look at that as a one-off, and
Mm.
I think that people will gain a bit more of an expert type opinion with Quebec teams going into next year just by being able to see the way Montreal beat Saskatchewan. Um, but yeah, man, like I can't give them anything less than an A plus. They're
And
national champs.
A is across the board minus special teams, so that's gonna happen. You know how hard it is to give special teams an A plus or even an A. It's so hard.
I gave them a B minus because they only made 60% of their field goals.
Yeah, and like an A would have to be like 100%. Like an A plus is 100% of the field goal percentage, and you know depending on what their returns were like on the side, you know like if the kickoff returns, they had kickoff returns to the house or whatever. But yeah, like perfect. That's a perfect report card. You bring that home to your parents, they're
You're
gonna take you to the Mandarin, or they're gonna take you to like the keg.
yeah. Yeah, you're gonna get treated if you take home that report card.
Yeah, 100%. All these report cards, well, obviously they were throughout the video, throughout this episode, also going to be posted again on the Daniel Federico show, so go follow that up. Um, but this has been our U Sports report card episode. Thanks for Nick Taggio coming on. He's going to come on throughout, I want to say, the off season. You know, we're going to do a couple of predictions, and even if we're not even talking about U Sports ball, he's still going to come onto the show, and we're going to talk just ball or something. We're going to just talk ball. We're going to just talk things.
I like talking, I'll talk any sport, man. Like I
Yeah.
don't I just like competition and debating about it and yeah, I'm excited.
That's what I like too. Nick, thank you for coming on, brother. This has been the Daniel Federico Show with the Nick Tazio. Ciao, guys.